history. It will change 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 history. That will be the most beautiful day.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in again tonight, April 20th of 2022, for our ongoing reports about the Ukraine crisis here. Looks like my news ticker actually is not working on this feed here. One second, let me reboot that so we can have that up. A lot of headlines this evening. A lot of activity has happened over the past 12 to 24 hours here in Ukraine as Mariupol looks like it's possibly getting closer to falling to Russian control. Evacuations are underway there in and around Mariupol as they try to get some people out. I put emphasis on the word "try" there, as there's been a lot of reports coming out that those evacuation attempts have been unsuccessful for the most part in areas, as the Russian command on the ground has kind of a hard time getting control over all of its forces there. They issue a evacuation order, and then immediately it's broken by some pocket of Russian forces somewhere that didn't get the word. So that's been kind of the issue that we've been seeing over the past day or two here. There we go. We got our ticker back up and running. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in this evening. Glad to see so many people tuning into the stream. We have new people tuning in tonight. We have a lot of familiar faces tuning in as well. Hello to everybody. Again, towards the end of the show, I'll be doing a questions and answers as usual. Really quickly, though, hello to everybody. Hello to all you guys that are tuning back in. Trevor asks, what is that Change History sample from? It's actually from a song. It's called The Most Beautiful Day by Professor Click. You should actually be able to find a link to that in the description below the stream. If not, I have to re-add it in there, and I'll do that a little bit later, where you guys can go and check out that track. Awesome artist. Love his stuff. Love his work. Andy, thank you so much for tuning back into the stream. We're going to start going through tonight's headlines first. I'm going to try to kind of get through those a little bit quicker so that we can hop over into the community aggregated reports that we have over on the Situation Room in the Discord. There's quite a bit of information we've been able to get in there over the past 24 hours or so, and so I want to kind of put some emphasis on that this evening. Again, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. If you can, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. Best way to get notified when new reports go live. So main stories for tonight. Mariupol. Again, heavy fighting occurring in Mariupol as the Russians look to take full control over the city, primarily the Avstal Steel Works, where the last pocket of Ukrainian forces are holding out, along with quite a few civilians. Again, there's been some sporadic reports of evacuations possibly underway there, and reports of maybe the Russians interfering in some of those evacuations. Again, we're waiting to get some more information out of Mariupol. But that definitely is a evolving situation there per the hour, if not per the minute. We're getting new information out of there, and a lot of conflicting reports as well. Again, it's I would say the definition of an active war zone, as I've put it in the past. Mariupol is, again, without cellular communication in a lot of areas, it's without power, water, and resources in a lot of areas. Again, very hard to get concrete information out of that area. Fighting is intensifying in Ukraine's east, including the Donbass region primarily, again, where Russian troops have built up in recent days and weeks. Shelling continued on Ukraine's second biggest city of Kharkiv in the northeast. Russia said it had control over most of the southeastern port city of Mariupol. under siege and heavy fire. 4 weeks. That Azovstal steel plant, where that last pocket of Ukrainian forces is holding out. They have tunnels beneath the factory where a lot of those civilians are taking refuge. A lot of active shelling, a lot of missile strikes occurring in that area. We've seen a lot of footage, drone footage primarily, coming out of the Mariupol the past 24 hours or so, showing the plumes of smoke coming up out of that factory. Again, Russia is claiming it has control over the city. Again, there is confirmed to be that pocket of Ukrainian resistance at the Azovstal steel plant in the city, along with civilians inside. Russia's military again issued a renewed ultimatum for the soldiers to surrender. I believe this is the second or third ultimatum that they have given the Ukrainian forces in that plant to surrender. More critical weaponry is heading into Ukraine, as a senior U.S. defense official has reported. That includes 18 howitzers, artillery systems again, and again the U.S. is training Ukrainians outside of the country on how to use the big artillery systems, those howitzers there. The U.S. and its allies have also provided spare aircraft parts that have allowed the Ukrainians to fix and return to service more than 20 warplanes in the past 3 weeks. Just in the past few days, they've gotten a lot of those online and are in the skies now, taking the fight to the Russians, to the Russian forces on the ground there. Red-blooded American asks, "Do you think the Russians will use more hypersonic missiles?" Yes, I believe that definitely is in the deck of cards, 100%. We'll have to wait and see how that pans out, though. More than 5 million people have fled Ukraine in the nearly 2 months of the war. Again, these are updated numbers here coming from the United Nations Refugee Agency. Overall, more than 10 million Ukrainians have been displaced by the war. The vast majority of those who have fled the country, nearly 3 million, have gone to Poland, followed by by other Eastern European countries like Romania and Hungary. I think it's also important to note that a lot of Ukrainians have fled into Russia as well as Belarus as well. There's been not only Ukrainians flooding into those Western European countries, but there's also been a fair share of Ukrainians fleeing into Russia and Belarus on the eastern side of the country. Russia, in a latest move of aggression here, has test-launched a new intercontinental ballistic missile, which President Vladimir Putin praised as a new addition to the country's nuclear arsenal. The Sarmat missile launched from Russia's northwest and struck a target on the Kamchatka in the Far East. The Pentagon said Russia had notified the U.S. of the test, and it was not deemed to be a threat to the U.S. or allies at the time. However, it is seen on the international stage as a kind of an aggressive move, especially given the circumstances here in Ukraine. Russia and Belarusian players were banned from this year's Wimbledon, including men's number 2, Daniil Medvedev, again, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, of Russia, and women's number 4, Aryna Selebenka of Belarus. This makes Wimbledon one of the first tennis events to suspend players from the two countries since Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February. Again, let's go into a little bit more depth into those 20 new operational aircraft that are being added to Ukraine's Air Force due to that influx of spare parts. Again, the Ukrainian Air Force has added about 20 more operational aircraft to its fleet because of an influx of spare parts, according to a senior U.S. defense official. Though the official wouldn't specify which country provided the aircraft parts, the official said Wednesday that the U.S. and other countries worked, quote, to get them the parts they needed to get them in the air. The flow of spare parts has allowed Ukraine to expand its fleet of operational military aircraft despite Russia's ongoing invasion. They have more aircraft now than they did 3 weeks ago, said the official. One day earlier, the Pentagon press secretary John Kirby had said that the Ukraine had received additional fighter aircraft to add to their existing numbers. But on Wednesday, the senior defense official walked that back, saying Ukraine had not received more aircraft, but had in fact received aircraft parts to make more of their existing aircraft functional. Still, the official intimated that at least one country was considering sending Ukraine more aircraft, so fully functioning aircraft systems. The quote from that report was, "I was given to understand that an offer made by another country had officially been affected. That offer has not been affected, so I was ahead of where things actually were. It is not known which country has made such an offer." Again, the U.S. is committed to sending Ukraine 16 Mi-17 helicopters, but the administration has declined to get involved in a transfer of MiG-29s from another country to Ukraine via the United States. Again, those MiG-29s are those Soviet-era Fulcrum fighter jets, again, with which Ukrainian pilots already know how to fly, so they don't necessarily need training on them. That's been the big bullet point there. Is the U.S. is concerned, they have to provide the training for these more advanced weapon systems. And again, Ukraine has come out with statements saying, we can do the training to send the stuff over. We need it now, not later. Again, earlier today, in another round of sanctions, the U.S. unveils, again, the latest sanctions targeting Russia. The United States on Wednesday unveiled its latest round, going after Russia over its war on Ukraine, this time targeting a key commercial bank and, quote, a global network of more than 40 individuals and entities led by U.S.-designated Russian oligarch Konstantin Milofeev. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Apologies for that. In a news release, the U.S. Treasury Department said it was also targeting companies operating Russia's virtual currency mining industry, again, reportedly the third largest in the world, noting it was the first time it has designated a virtual currency mining company. In addition, the State Department is imposing a slew of visa restrictions in response to the Russian war and for undermining democracy in Belarus. Wednesday's actions are the latest by the Biden administration, meant to punish the Kremlin and its enablers for invading Ukraine at the end of February. The war has, again, taken thousands of lives, hundreds of service members and civilians, and U.S. Not just Ukrainian civilians, but there's been possibly U.S. civilians that have died in this war. There's Europeans that have died in this war. There's a large toll on life here, not just life, but collateral damage as well, as many homes, businesses, entire towns and cities have been destroyed here in Ukraine since this event has begun, since this war has begun. Another report from earlier today. A top Ukrainian official says he is ready to head to Mariupol to negotiate evacuation of civilians and soldiers. Two top Ukrainian officials, again, are ready to head to the besieged city of Mariupol to negotiate person-to-person the evacuation of soldiers, civilians trapped in the city. One was Captain Sviatoslav Palomar of Ukraine's Azov Regiment. Again, that's who made that report earlier. So the two officials are Ukrainian parliamentary majority leader David Arkharamia and Mikhailo Podolyak, advisor to the president's chief of staff. So two big names there from the Ukrainian hierarchy looking, again, to head to Mariupol to possibly spark peace talks or at least get those evacuations underway in that besieged city. Zelensky, in an address earlier today, says discussions with European Council President were, quote, substantive. He said his discussions with European Council President Charles Michel on Wednesday were substantive regarding the EU's support for Ukraine. During his nightly address posted on social media Wednesday night, Zelensky said he and Michel discussed specific ways that the EU can help Ukraine regarding providing aid, particularly defensive finances and sanctions. Quote, another great topic of our discussion is our advancement towards integration, said Zelensky. Another full quote from that interview, we have already proved that Ukrainian state and civic institutions are effective enough to withstand a war ordeal, said Zelensky. He also added, we have already been doing for the defense of freedom on the European continent so much that it hasn't been the other nations' lot to do. Again, Biden is processing the horrific images coming out of Ukraine with sadness, quote, and fear for the people, in a statement from Jen Psaki earlier from the White House. She said the White House continues to urge Russian forces to guarantee safe passage for civilians. A quote from that says the president is processing these images as many Americans are with sadness, with fear for the people of Ukraine, for the families, for the children, for innocent civilians who are at risk. Again, that was a statement from Jen Psaki there. She added that this conflict is consuming a great deal of his time as much as he is working on a range of other priorities here. Another report from earlier today. The Mariupol evacuation corridor that they had previously looked to open did not work as planned, said Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Erna Vereshchuk. Said an evacuation corridor from the besieged city of Mariupol did not work as planned Wednesday, providing few details but promising to resume efforts Thursday. Saying, due to lack of control over their own military on the ground, the occupiers were unable to ensure a proper ceasefire. Also, due to the inherent disorganization and negligence, the occupiers were unable to provide timely transportation of people to the point where dozens of our buses and ambulances were waiting. She said the mayor of Mariupol had called on residents of the city to evacuate along a corridor announced earlier in the day, including 3 assembly points. Another report, Zelensky says Ukrainian forces don't have enough serious and heavy weapons to defeat Russia in Mariupol. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Wednesday that the country's forces don't have enough serious and heavy weapons to defeat the Russian army in the southern eastern port city of Mariupol. Again, he outlined 2 potential ways to end the standoff in the city, saying first it involves serious and heavy weapons. At the moment, we don't have enough of these weapons to free Mariupol. The second path is diplomatic. So far, Russia hasn't agreed to these talks. In an early report from today, U.S. Treasury and other finance ministers walked out of the G20 meeting with Russia. Finance ministers from the multiple nations walked out of a closed-door G20 session in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday when the Russian delegate began his prepared remarks. A person familiar with the session said U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen participated in the walkout, as did Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, along with other European and Western officials who were participating in the meeting, the source said. Ahead of the meeting, U.S. officials said Yellen would not participate in certain sessions of the gathering that included Russia. Another report of significance over the past 24 hours here that shows, again, Russia is continuing to move forces into Ukraine. Russia has added 17 battalion tactical groups to Ukraine in the last week alone. Russian forces have added 17 battalion tactical groups, aka BTGs as they abbreviate those as, in Ukraine over the past week, with 4 more BTGs in just the last 24 hours. The senior U.S. defense official said Wednesday altogether the U.S. assesses that there are now 82 BTGs inside of Ukraine. Out of the 4 BTGs added in the last 24 hours, 3 of them have gone into the east, into the Donbass area, the official added. Again, last night's report, I had mentioned that there was 2 BTGs in that previous 24-hour period, and so in this 24-hour period, there was 4 more on top of those 2, making 6 in just the past 48 hours. 6 BTGs, battle groups, those are those Russian battle groups, have entered into Ukraine, into the combat theater. European Council President, after visiting Ukraine, says there are no words to explain what I feel. Again, European Council President Charles Michel said, Charles Mitchell, again, said there that there were no words to explain what he feels after visiting Ukraine on Wednesday, adding that Russia, quote, must be punished for the events unfolding in the country. Quote, there are no words in order to explain what I feel, not as president of the European Council, but as father, as a human being. These are atrocities. These are war crimes. It must be punished. It will be punished. They must pay for what they have done there and in many other cities and other locations in Ukraine. IMF says Ukraine estimates it needs $5 billion per month to keep the economy functioning. Ukraine's Ministry of Finance has estimated it will take $5 billion a month to keep the economy functioning, says the International Monetary Fund. Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva said Wednesday, we have been engaged very closely with the Ministry of Finance on the estimates that they have provided or what would be necessary to retain the functioning of the economy over the next 3 months. They came up with the number of $5 billion a month. Germany will phase out Russian oil imports by the end of the year. Germany will phase out Russian oil imports by the end of the year, says the Foreign Ministry. Lena Beribach said, again, Wednesday in a statement, Germany will completely phase out Russian energy imports. Oil imports will be halved by the summer and phased out entirely and at zero by the end of the year, she added, speaking at a news conference in Riga with Baltic foreign ministers. She reiterated that coal imports would be phased out by the end of the summer. Gas imports would be phased out over a longer time frame. 80% of Luhansk territory is now under Russian control, says Serhiy Haidai, the head of Luhansk Regional Military Administration. Said 80% of his region's territory is under Russian control at this time. If Ukraine doesn't resist, the official said, Russia is certainly not going to stop here and will push further on. Speaking to CNN's Becky Anderson from an undisclosed location, Haidai did an interview with them and said, concurred with the Russian characterization that the second phase of the war has begun, but cautioned that it is not yet a complete and total invasion. Okay, so saying in that interview that it is looking like that the Russians are not stopping just with the current BTGs that they have in the country, with the current objectives that they are at this moment tackling, meaning Mariupol, the immediate Donbass. It is looking like they are going to want to push farther east. Again, we have to wait to see how that pans out in the coming days. It's possible that the Russian forces will be able to take, again, Mariupol, connecting that land bridge down to Crimea, and possibly that they will even connect maybe that pincer movement that we were looking at on the maps from the past few nights from Kharkiv down to the southern coast, trapping those Ukrainian forces in the east, and then taking a large swath of that territory. Again, we'll go into some of those details when we look on the map here in a few minutes. Russian military, again, carries out intercontinental ballistic missile tests today. That was the main story from earlier, again, that it had conducted that launch of that intercontinental ballistic Sarmat missile. And again, that comes as there's reports, that testing is routine. They're saying that, such testing is routine and that it was not a surprise test. Again, that they have alerted U.S. officials of that test, but at the same time that it is slightly concerning that they are looking, to make these missile tests now, given that, the war is currently underway. They could possibly maybe employ more of these ballistic missiles in Ukraine, maybe not with nuclear ammunition, but with conventional bombardment. So that's always a possibility there. Again, we will keep an eye on that situation as it develops. Yeah, as Unstable says, to be fair, the U.S. tests ICBMs on a monthly basis. It's very true. So there's two parts to that. So first off, again, it is routine that they test these missiles, as any world superpower does. They do weapons tests. However, it also is concerning, given that it is wartime. Could they be looking to prep weapons for strikes in Ukrainian territory? Again, it's kind of hard, to tell these things. It certainly is an aggressive move by them, given that it is wartime. But again, it's also scheduled testing. So Satan 2 is the NATO designation for that missile, says Too Tall. Thank you so much for letting me know that. Another report from earlier today, cybersecurity authorities from the U.S., Australia, Canada, and New Zealand and the United Kingdom have warned that intelligence indicates that Russian government is exploring options for potential cyber attacks on critical infrastructure networks. The warning comes from members of, quote, the Five Eyes intelligence sharing group, said that cyber attacks may occur as a response to unprecedented economic costs imposed on Russia. It could be in direct retaliation for this new round of sanctions that the U.S. is looking to impose. Again, we're going to have to wait to see how far Russia takes this retaliation. The group also said that a malicious attack could occur as retaliation for providing security assistance to Ukraine. Again, speaking to that lethal assistance, the lethal aid that they've been sending to Ukraine, including the artillery systems, etc. The group urged those responsible for defending critical infrastructure networks to, quote, prepare for and mitigate potential cyber threats, including destructive malware, ransomware, DDoS attacks, and cyber espionage. Again, speaking to a report that I gave you guys yesterday, former U.S. Ambassador to Russia, Michael McFaul, is calling on the Biden administration to label Russia as, quote, a state sponsor of terrorism, becoming the latest voice in a growing chorus of support for the controversial diplomatic move. Quote from that report, the world should designate the Russian Federation as a sponsor of terrorism and expel Russia from the Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering, FATF, McFaul wrote on Twitter Wednesday. He noted that there are 4 countries the U.S. currently considers state sponsors of terrorism, including North Korea, Iran, Syria, and Cuba. Quote, clearly Russia is terrorizing more people today than Cuba is. Act now, the President of the United States, again, wrote McFaul addressing President Joe Biden on his Twitter handle. That came from earlier today. Again, about reiterating on that Mariupol situation, for some people were asking about the civilians there. About 1,000 civilians remain trapped at the steel plant, again, where Ukrainian forces are making their last stand in Mariupol. Not just those 1,000 civilians, but I believe over 1,000 Ukrainian fighters are there, if not more, at this time. So Ukraine, again, calls on the Red Cross today to establish contact with 500,000 people, it says, have been, quote, deported to Russia. Unclear if those are forced deportations to Russia or if that is speaking to people that have voluntarily fled to Russia. Again, so I think with that, that about does our main headlines for tonight. So what we're going to do now is we'll hop over into our situation room, and we're going to take a look at some of the community aggregated news from this evening. Quite a bit of good reporting has been contributed over there in our situation room over the past about 24 hours or so. I thank everybody that has contributed over there. If you would like to help contribute to our situation room reports, to our community aggregated reports, if you have any intel or any reports that are of significance, are confirmed, and it's legit information, by all means, you can go ahead and join our Discord server, and we'd love to have you post that information over there in the Situation Room. If you would like some of your reports mentioned over there. I do like to reiterate before we start going into these, though, that some of these reports, come from unverified sources, and we like to make that known to you guys. For the most part, we like to show you guys verified and confirmed reports, but sometimes things are being published so fast during war that we don't always have time, again, when we're covering these things, during the nightly reports. We want to show you guys everything, and so instead what we do is we make it known when things are unconfirmed, and it's usually not until about a day or two later that we get confirmed information, on a certain report, as is the case in wartime. So I think what we're going to do here is switch over to our nope, not that one. Let's go to this one here. Go to our main screen here. There we go. So our first post comes from a beloved community member and moderator on our server, Fallen Rays. Thank you so much, Fallen, for sending over this attack. It actually reiterates a little bit of news that I just reported on just a moment ago. Let me get that up on screen for me so I can see it. Okay, so again, Twitter is giving us the login prompt there, but don't worry, we can still see our report here. This comes from the Kiev Independent on Twitter, a very good source of pro-Ukrainian information since the war began. Again, if you're looking for reports, again, from a pro-Ukrainian perspective, they are definitely a pro-Ukrainian source located in Ukraine. This report, again, speaking to those cyber attacks, saying intelligence suggests Russia may launch cyber attacks against countries supporting Ukraine. Quote, the Five Eyes Intelligence Alliance of the United States, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand warned Russia may engage cybercrime groups against states, institutions, and businesses. Again, thank you so much, Fallen Rays, for sending over that news report in the Situation Room. Much appreciated. Another report here. This comes from Yuriko Izo on the Situation Room. Thank you for sending this over. This is a tweet from Dimitri, Ukraine. Again, that's a unverified account on Twitter here, but it says, today, Igor Gherkin released on his Telegram a long-form note explaining his pessimism with regards to the second stage of the special operation. He still strongly believes Russia does not possess enough forces to conduct a successful operation. And here is the translation in 3 parts. Okay, I will read it off for you guys here. This is some interesting information. It says, one of my comrades who came back from the front line for reorganization asked to briefly and clearly, without going into depth of warfare science, to sum up and express my thoughts that I listed in a discussion with him revolving around my pessimism towards the success of the second stage of this special military operation. He believes someone might find this useful. I think that there are that no one from those making decisions will pay any attention, but I made a promise, so here it is. In short, let's evaluate the operational situation. From our side, after the successful completion of the first stage of the operation, which ended with a large-scale retreat from Kiev, Chernihiv, and Sumy Oblasts, a relocation and concentration of the forces in the Donetsk region of the front line has occurred, most likely, and according to the official statements of the political command of the Russian forces, this is precisely where they are planning to conduct the second stage and complete the objective of totally clearing the territories of the Luhansk People's Republics and the Donetsk People's Republics of the enemy's formations. Obviously, they count on creating 2 to 3 offensive groupings with enough manpower, which the concentrated support of all available aviation and majority of artillery forces will break through the Ukrainian forces, which are still for some reason not appreciated highly enough, and destroy them in one large battle. From the UAF side, the plans of the Russian forces, the Russian forces Air Force, are very clear to the enemy, and they do not at all consider their defeat inevitable. In fact, the opposite. The Ukrainian forces are planning to defend their highly fortified positions, relying on old and newly created Russian force. Newly created positions, mentioning again that Russian forces gave them plenty of time for that to make those, to dig in on those positions. At assumed directions of the Russian forces' strikes, which are obvious, just look at the map. Let's ask a question. Can the supremacy of the Russian Air Force in aviation and heavy weaponry guarantee a victory over the enemy, from whom the offensive plans are obvious, who is prepared for defense, possessing a high moral spirit? My answer is no, not guaranteed. Why? My answer. He says, the supremacy of the Russian Air Force in aviation and artillery is quite relative, since the enemy has a well-equipped and numerous military anti-aircraft capabilities, which severely limits actions of the tactical aviation capable of supporting its own troops on the battlefield. The enemy holds an advantage in terms of field and artillery reconnaissance, UAVs of various classes on nearly squad level. Their artillery has great weaponry and excellent trained personnel, and fighting against numerous Russian armored vehicles in defense is quite capable of this due to massive amounts of anti-tank weapons among infantry, speaking to those ATGMs, things like those Javelin missiles, etc. In conditions where Russian troops will have to storm one city, agglomeration after another, numbers of troops come to the foreground, and in this regard, neither Russian Forces Air Force nor the Luhansk People's Republic / Donetsk People's Republic's Air Force have a serious advantage, unfortunately. Let's imagine that the first line of defense of the Ukrainian forces south of Izum and near the Haleopol is broken, and our forces begin offensive in convergent directions. Again, I will go to the second part here. Can they quickly link up in deep Ukrainian rears, creating two encirclement rings, inner and outer, with a guarantee that the enemy won't break them immediately and won't create their own salients for the advancing forces? Germans did this on multiple occasions in 1942 with our forces, he mentions there. He says, I doubt it. Why? Because for that, you need a lot of detachments aimed not only for breaking through, but also for firmly establishing in the territories that you take. You also need a large amount of supply detachments. If the enemy had numerous forces, you could partially ignore defense of communications. Yet Ukrainian force, thanks to mobilization, have enough forces comparable to our own numbers. Moreover, the enemy has the ability to reduce the front line and transfer freed forces towards endangered directions. The Russian forces does not have complete supremacy in the air simply due to a lack of numbers in attack aviation and tiny numbers of attack UAVs. At the same time, the front line near Donetsk can be held by the enemy with relatively small numbers thanks to excellent engineering equipment developed over years, while our genius politicians were chewing Minsk snivel. So very interesting report here from, I believe that is a Russian military commander, I believe, that this came from here. I'll read the last paragraph here because it's kind of insightful here. It says, the operation had to be ended and battered troops had to be returned to their original positions and then more or less orderly retreat, which did not always happen for the Germans, again, behind Dinipro. With this in mind, I would also remind you that the so-called Ukraine is finishing its third stage of the total mobilization. They have the manpower, 200,000 to 300,000 people, and equipment, a huge stream of all kinds of weapons from Europe and USA, to not only support a decent number of their own troops at the front line, but also create new reserves, and create them in numbers. Even 100,000 people is around 50 battle groups, including reinforcements and rear infrastructure, so around 10 full-bodied divisions. So yeah, again, the Ukrainians are definitely almost fully mobilized, and they have a significant force there. Really interesting information there. Again, posted to our Situation Room by Yuriko Izo. Thank you so much for contributing that to our Situation Room there on the Discord. So here is an interesting video posted by Momoto. Thank you so much, Momoto, for tuning into the stream and hanging out on the Discord there, contributing this to the Discord Situation Room. This is a video on YouTube, and so again, I would like everybody to know, this is possibly unconfirmed. We're still waiting to get more information on this video, but this is an intercepted communication, apparently from Russian forces on the ground. It talks about a Russian soldier being happy about bombing Ukraine, and possibly that they're waiting maybe to use a tactical nuke on Mariupol. Again, 100% unconfirmed at this time. I would like to get more information on this, but either or, we're going to listen to the conversation. A YouTuber by the name of Insights from Ukraine and Russia was the one that did this video, so shout out to him. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to watch this video really quick, and then I'll speak a little bit about it.
It's Insights from Ukraine and Russia, and I have another pretty insightful phone call conversation for you that was intercepted by Security Service of Ukraine. It's just another evidence of future war crime that Russia is about to commit in Ukrainian city Mariupol. Keep in mind that Azovstal that you will hear in this conversation, it's pretty huge steel works, and lots of civilians as well as Ukrainian military is hiding under this place. So let's just listen to this dreadful intercepted phone call conversation.
Ждем тут сюрпризы от России.
Какие?
3-тонные с неба.
Кидать?
Да.
Ой, ебана мать. Представляешь,
Да.
какой там это будет взрыв, какой-то все
Это
будет.
будет писец это просто. Сказали сравнять все с землей.
О,
Да шо, бьют их, бьют, выбивают. Они то
а
людей теряют.
мирные?
Все уехали. Все, кто захотел, все уехали. Остались одни патриоты. И сильно умные остались, короче.
Да.
Ездил там у нас подполковник. Какие-то
Мгм.
сказали, фронтовые самолеты будут прилетать. И прифронтовые. Ну там уже этот завод лупят авиаударами.
Азов?
So just there, he was talking about, you know, that they're waiting, you know, possibly to drop. I mean, like that they've been ordered to basically destroy everything on the ground. He mentioned this, you know, three-ton bombs, you know, being dropped from the air, possibly referencing, you know, like a large, maybe conventional ammunition. We're unsure. However, let's keep watching here.
Ну завод, сталь.
Ну, я говорю, Азов, сталь,
Да, да,
лупят.
уже там его переворачивают. С ног
Да
на
что
голову.
показывали, что там еще это такое, что-то еще там сдались.
Лисичанск
Сушники.
там стирает с лица земли тоже, уже третий день. Ну,
Да.
уже надоело, наверное, сколько можно, блин. Хули толку, один фиг все будет разрушено, разбито. Ничего ж целого не останется все равно.
Ну да.
Ну, мы тут, я не знаю, сколько, километра 4, наверное, от завода. А от этого я не знаю, сколько мы от Северодонецка. Я сегодня щит на окно поставил. Пацаны, что ты лепишь? Если бомба взорвется, эти окна вылетят, говорю, вместе с рамами. Представь, говорю, будет там взрывище какое.
Да.
Ну, приезжал подполковник, говорит, вы почувствуете, говорит, на себе это. Не верится.
Again, this conversation was posted. Let me see here. This video was posted, I believe it was earlier today. Let me see here. Yes, this was today. So this conversation was reportedly happened either yesterday evening or this morning, Ukraine time. So again, we'll continue listening here. In fact, I'm going to rewind it just a little bit so you guys can hear that there, or read the text
Там
there.
взрывище какое.
Not exactly sure if they're speaking of nukes or if they're speaking of like a large
Да.
conventional ordnance, like a phobe or something, as somebody had mentioned there in the
Ну, приезжал
live chat.
подполковник, говорит, вы почувствуете, говорит, на себе это.
He says there the lieutenant told us that we
А,
will
он так вам
feel
сказал, да?
the
Ну
explosion.
да.
Well, you see that for Russian soldiers, it doesn't matter that in the city there are lots of pro-Ukrainian civilians. For them, all people who are with Ukraine, who love Ukraine, who love their country, they're just Nazis in their minds, you know. So it doesn't matter that if they bombed the city and destroyed completely, as well as citizens. For them, it just doesn't matter, and it's disturbing to know. Please write in the comments what do you think about all this. By the way, while I'm speaking with you, they already bombing Mariupol, and particularly this still works. Anyways, I really hope that civilians eventually was evacuated, and if it's not true, then it will be the next tragedy in this war. Thank you so much for your attention, for your support,
All right, guys,
and
so
I see.
again, that's the end of that conversation there. But you can see, you know, possibly, you know, if this conversation did truly occur, if that information is correct, then maybe possibly they're looking to, if the Ukraine forces there don't end up getting evacuated and don't end up getting out, that Russia might resort to using a larger munition to bombard Mariupol there. Again, thank you, Momoto, for posting that video in the Situation Room over there. Thank you very much for that. Here is a Russian tweet. I believe this is either in Russian or Ukrainian. Let me see if I can get this. I'm going to get this translated for you guys here really quick. This was posted by Kafa on the Situation Room. Thank you so much for that, Kafa. I'm going to get a I'll get a translation going on this for you guys here. Give me 1 second. It says, prisoners in the Papsana were ordered to be killed, said an audio interception of the conversation of the invaders by Ukrainian intelligence. So apparently prisoners in the Papsana area were ordered to be killed. Interesting tweet there. Again, unconfirmed information, just to make sure you guys understand that. But again, these are community aggregated posts on our Situation Room on the Discord. Stand by while I... Where did that pesky mouse go? There it is. Okay, I'll get that next post up for you guys here. Okay, next up is another post by Kayuka. Kayuka has been a pretty big contributor here. Post saying, Marines in Azov rescue 500 fighters from the port of Mariupol. This came Wednesday the 20th. Says here that soldiers of the 36 separate... in fact, hold on, let me make sure to mute that stream audio from coming from Kharkiv there. Let me see here. Let's go back to here. All right, soldiers of the 36th Separate Marine Brigade, together with the other units of the Ukrainian Armed Forces and National Guard, have successfully conducted a joint special operation to evacuate border guards and police to the Avestal plant, which Ukrainian soldiers are still defending. So that's they're evacuating them from the surrounding areas to the plant where they're holding out, not evacuating them from the plant. Some details on that. So there's a source on that, local edition of Michael Lave, referring to the words of an officer from the 36th Separate Marine Brigade. Details. Michael Lave, Marines and the Azov defenders have traveled in armored vehicles to the seaport, where the State Border Guard Service and several units of the National Police were stationed. The latter were running out of ammunition. Michael Lave Marines and Azov defenders broke through to the Ukrainian fighters, providing fire cover. They were able to take about 500 Ukrainian border guards and National Police fighters to Avestal, that steel plant there. It is reported that during the implementation of the planned special operation, serious damage was inflicted on the Russian occupying forces. Interesting post there, again, from Kayuka. Thank you so much, Kayuka, for sending that over to the Situation Room. Jenny Iowable, one of our mods, one of our new mods over on the Discord server. Thank you so much, Jenny, for posting this tweet on the Situation Room. Again, this comes from a confirmed Twitter source. However, the information, again, guys, everything we take from these situation reports, we take with a grain of salt. However, this looks pretty legit here. Russia has submitted a draft peace document to Ukraine with, quote, a clear language and is waiting for a response. The ball's on the side of Kiev, said Peskov. Again, this is one of the first reports I've heard of this. We're going to have to wait and see if we get more information on that as time goes on. Another post by Jenny Iowable on the Discord here. This comes from Telegram, but it's posted on Twitter via Nexta. Quote, Ukrainian Deputy Prime Minister Irina Vereshchuk announced that its preliminary agreement on the organization of humanitarian corridor for the residents of Mariupol has been reached at this time. So again, we're going to have to wait to see if that goes forward. We're hoping that they can get people out of the city there, out of Mariupol, out of that steel plant, get the civilians out, and hopefully get those Ukrainian servicemen out of there as well. Another post by Jenny Iowable, thank you so much for posting this in the Situation Room, comes from Charles Mitchell in Kiev today, in the heart of a free and democratic Europe. You can see there that picture of him visiting Ukraine in Kiev there. This is a post from K10CD. This shows some interesting aircraft activity from earlier today. Anatov Airlines, Ukraine, AN-124. That's the Anatov AN-124, yeah. So they're saying that possibly, is that, hold on, I'm trying to look up that aircraft type here. Is the world's second heaviest gross weight production cargo airplane and the heaviest operating cargo aircraft. So, it's speculated here that possibly, Kayuka actually posted this. This is from CNN.com. That the Pentagon, Ukraine has gotten additional aircraft parts. And so it's speculation that maybe those aircraft parts actually had come in on that Anatov. Some interesting reporting there. Thank you guys so much for reporting, for posting that in the Situation Room. Again, a post from Common Fishbowl over on the Situation Room. We've reported on this tonight a few times, but this is from CNBC. U.S. is taking a close look at whether to label Russia a state sponsor of terrorism. Again, we've reported on that a few times this evening. There's a post from another one of our mods on the Discord server, Vanquish. Thank you so much for posting this to the Situation Room. This comes from John Cooper over on the Twitter here, from a verified Twitter account. Breaking: Ukrainian defense forces have regained control of Marinka, which was last controlled by Ukraine in mid-March. The city is less than 6 miles west of Donetsk, a major industrial city in eastern Ukraine. He then adds that SLAVA UKRAINI. Thank you for that post, Vanquish. Very interesting reporting there. This comes from Kafa. This is from earlier today, around 12 p.m. Very difficult situation near Polhi, Zaporizhia Oblast. There is a massive Russian offensive towards Huliopol. We've heard multiple reports of that offensive taking place, or the preparations for that offensive. So that is consistent with some of the other data that we have gotten as well. HM Producer is telling me now that she's being told that the plant in Kharkiv has been hit multiple times at around 3:42 Kiev time. I believe they're speaking to the coke plant, the production coke plant there that produces that fuel supply, that coke fuel there. Again, I'm refreshing my feeds real quick on my end, so I can check to see if there's any fires burning. Or any signs of those strikes occurring at that coke plant. That's why we've had that feed. The primary reason we've had that feed up is because it is possibly a target, or would look to be a target for the Russian forces. So I'm not actually seeing any signs on my coke plant feed of a strike there. At least in the immediate foreground, it is dawn now. However, I got the feed up, and I'm going to continue watching that as we continue the reports here. Yeah, very interesting. If somebody could send me a clip of that, if anybody has a clip of that. Yeah, somebody said that is correct. I've seen a video, continuous explosion in the Kharkiv area. If somebody wants to send me some pictures of that, I'd love to get that up on screen for you guys. I don't see any smoke billowing on the coke plant feed right now, but it is possible that they got hit and that no fire occurred, and the smoke has gone down now. Because if that was around 3:42, that's been some time. Yeah, I'm checking both my feeds. I got my coke plant feed up. In fact, I can. Marcus, thank you so much for subscribing there, bud. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I could switch over to my cam room feed. I believe this is the coke plant feed you guys are speaking of, right? Yeah, so some people are saying that this feed here, this is the coke plant feed in Kharkiv. Some people are saying that there was explosions on this cam. If somebody wants to give me, if somebody wants to send me a clip, I would love to get that up on screen here. And we could get that. We can get that up on screen here, so you guys can see it. RC49 says it was a different cam. Do you know what cam that was? I have basically all of them. All of the Kharkiv feeds that are up and operational. Let me know which one. Send me a clip, and I'll get maybe we'll get that feed up. But I'll also show the video on stream. Alrighty. I think what we'll do is I'll hop back over to our pointer screen here so we can continue going through some of those situation reports. We have a few more that I want to touch on here. This is from Vanquish earlier. This is a British Defense Intelligence update on Ukraine for the 19th of April. So this was yesterday's map information here. Strike location since the start of invasion, so it's basically where strikes have occurred in many of these different cities here. Nuclear symbol obviously points out those nuclear power plant sites there. The red shows likely axes of advance. You can see it going straight through Kharkiv. Into this area here they want to take control of. Into this area here, there's reports of the conflict happening here near Zaporizhia and Dinipro as they move up through here. Again, very interesting data on these maps. You can see the Ukrainians trying to repel those forces here in the east, the southeast here. Very interesting data. Thank you so much, Vanquish, for sending over that data. This is another military movement map here. The situation in the north of the Luhansk and Donetsk People's Republics. According to the reports from the Ukrainian side, the Russian armed forces continue to move south from Izium towards Slavansk. Now the fighting is going on in the village of Dolonoko, and this is right on the border of Kharkov and Donetsk regions. A little more than 20 kilometers remains to Slavansk itself. A plan is also being implemented to encircle the AFU grouping, which occupied Severodonetsk, Lysychansk. It is reported about the release in this direction, north of the settlement of Kremenaya, to the west of which there are battles for the settlement Zarachino and Tarakosk. The battles for the settlement also continue Papsiana and the Rubizanoy. So you can see there on the map where a lot of those Russian advances are occurring in and around that region. Again, thank you to Fenris for posting that reporting in the Situation Room. Again, thank you to all the community members. I know I didn't get to all of you there in the Situation Room, but thank you guys for continuing to post those intelligence reports there and doing the digging for some of that information. It's highly appreciated. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hop over onto our live UA map, and we're going to scroll down to about 12 hours, about the past 12 hours, and we'll go through all of the recent reports. I mean, if the page decides to work, of course. We'll go ahead and refresh that for you guys. So yeah, we're going to go through about the past 12 to 24 hours, somewhere in there. We'll probably do the 12-hour mark, so that way I have enough time to go through a significant Q&A session with you guys. Oh wow, so yeah, live UA map is just like she's deciding not to work today. We'll do this instead. We'll close out that tab, and we'll go to a new one, just like that. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down again to about our 12-hour mark. I'll go to about 13 hours here, and we'll start here and work our way to present time. We're here at the 13-hour mark. 1,045 bodies of civilians collected in the Kiev region. Says Andrei Nebitov, chief of Kiev Regional Police, tells Ukraine 24 TV station. He says 80% of victims were shot dead. All of them were defenseless and posed no threat whatsoever to Russian troops. Excavation of bodies is still ongoing. So the current kill count there in those outlying Kiev regions is currently 1,045 dead civilians that have been unfortunately found there and located deceased. 13 hours ago, Israel will send Ukraine helmets and bulletproof vests for medical teams and first responders, says the Minister of Defense, Gantz, tells his Ukrainian counterpart. 12 hours ago in Kharkiv, as it is pronounced properly, Region Security Service of Ukraine found a warehouse with ammunition and spare parts for military vehicles worth $200 million. Very interesting. Not sure if those are Russian military parts or if those are... Again, here's that report there. I was hoping, yep, so they were showing some footage here of that equipment. Again, not sure if those are Russian parts that were put there. Very interesting. In Kharkiv region, the Security Service of Ukraine found a warehouse with ammunition and spare parts for military vehicles worth $200 million. Again, are these supposed to be Russian? Is this supposed to be Russian equipment that they found? And if so, it's interesting that they found it so close to Kharkiv. Very interesting indeed. 11 hours ago, at least 2 artillery hits today at Novi Baneki district in Kharkiv. No casualties were reported. You can see here a photo of that, if I can get that up on screen for you guys, from Telegram, of some destroyed infrastructure there. Unfortunately, this person's kitchen has been destroyed there. Moving on. Again, 10 hours ago, Ukraine officially supports the initiative for a 4-day Easter truce starting from April 21st, says the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. It's still, we have to wait to see, if that's going to be successful or not, if they're going to be able to get that ceasefire implemented. We hope that that is what occurs there, that they can get that ceasefire initiated and they can get some civilian evacuations underway. Again, really quickly, thank you to everybody that's tuning in this evening. If you guys haven't already, please hit that like button. It's the best way to help get the algorithm's attention and support the stream. Moving on here, 10 hours ago, in a statement from the European Union, they will do everything possible to help Ukraine win the war against Russia. Again, says the European Council Chief Mitchell. 10 hours ago, Germany will stop importing oil from Russia by the end of the year, said the German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock after a meeting with her Baltic counterparts on Wednesday. 10 hours ago, Russian troops have advanced at Debrovony, a village near Izium, expected to advance at the Stara Helnista village near Chernihiv. 10 hours ago, actually, I'll show you guys that on the map. That is where that offensive is located along here from Izium up north here. 10 hours ago, Russian troops using Ukrainian uniforms attempted to seize Doviheki village in Kharkiv region, but failed. Again, that was 10 hours ago. Those were Russian troops using Ukrainian uniforms. 10 hours ago, Russian troops are slowly advancing in Popsana, seized several apartment blocks and police station in that area. Again, that is here in the east. 10 hours ago, missile launches from the Yanakivi area today at 5 p.m. Kiev time. You can see those missile launch contrails there in the sky. 9 hours ago, the U.S. military official states the United States is training a small number of Ukrainian forces on howitzers outside of the country. Again, that comes with those reports I gave earlier of that same activity. 9 hours ago here, a Pentagon official says Ukraine has not received whole aircraft from Europe, but parts to get some of their inoperable aircraft in operable condition. Because of this, Ukrainians now have more than 20 additional aircraft available to them. These include fighters and bombers. 9 hours ago, Russia has added 4 new battalion tactical groups into Ukraine in the last 24 hours, 3 of them into the Donbass. A senior U.S. defense official says Russia now has 82 battalion tactical groups inside of Ukraine. Some have enabling capabilities for ground troops. 8 hours ago, Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine says despite agreements, Russian military are not allowed evacuation from Mariupol today. 8 hours ago, says the U.S. has significant levels of 155mm artillery ammo to provide Ukraine and is not concerned about Pentagon stockpile, says a senior U.S. defense official. 8 hours ago, violent explosions in Kharkiv, Darachi, and Lazova. Possible long-range missiles hit Lazova. You can see that located on the map here, basically in central Ukraine, right there. On the map here, Russian army shelling Mykolaiv with heavy weapons that occurred earlier today. 7 hours ago, here's a video of heavy shelling in Mykolaiv. You can see that footage there. Hold on, I want to make sure you guys can hear the sound of those artillery strikes. You can see the flashes in the distance there. Very heavy bombardment. That is extremely heavy bombardment occurring there. 6 hours ago, Russian troops shelled Zelodolsk in the Dinipro Petrovisk region. No casualties were reported. You can see an image posted here. Let's try to get that up for you guys. I believe that is on Telegram. That is from the original source post there in Ukrainian. 6 hours ago, again, no, so that's the same post there. 6 hours ago, senior Ukrainian negotiators David Arkahimia and Mikhailo Podolyak are ready to go to Mariupol in to negotiate exit of civilians and military from this siege city without preliminary conditions. Again, I reported on that a short while ago. 6 hours ago here, Russian troops shelled an area of a cemetery of victims of totalitarianism in Kharkiv. 4,302 Polish officers and civilians, 2,000 Ukrainians and Jews executed by the NKVD buried at the site. You can see where that is located there, so that cemetery was unfortunately shelled. 6 hours ago, Russian troops shelled Velikia Kostdromovka village near Zelodolsk. You can see that located on the map there in south-central Ukraine. And then 5 hours ago here in the Donetsk region, 5 civilians were wounded in the past 24 hours as a result of Russian army shelling. You can see a picture as well on this. You can see some damage in the background there from that shelling. Unable to show you the full image, though, there. And then our final report here from tonight is Dinipro Oblast, red alert siren sounding in that area. We actually have 2 alerts from that area. We still haven't got the rest of the alerts from the rest of the country that we have seen a pattern of the past few nights. Remains to be seen. Again, it is dawn now. Remains to be seen if we may get some morning strikes here in Ukraine. Now, again, we just finished up all of those individual reports on live UA map. Again, really quickly, I thank everybody for tuning in this evening. Really quickly, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to switch over to the live chat, and we're going to do a little bit of Q&A. I'll read some of your guys' comments and answer some questions if you guys have any. Woods Lisa, thank you so much for tuning in. Says, I wish Ukrainians could get more troops to help them. They're actually doing pretty good on troops, Lisa. In fact, they have, again, as I reported earlier this evening, they've basically completed their 3rd round of mobilization now, which allows them, again, to... they have a significant number of troops on the ground. That 3rd round of mobilization means that they've brought up new reservists, they've brought up new conscripts, they've brought up a lot of new trainees, and they're on the front lines, they're in position, and they're ready to defend their country. They're doing pretty good on people. What they don't have is weapons. They need more weapons. They need more ammunition. That's by far what they need. Oh, hold on. Yep, Unstinkable. Unstinkable sent over a few clips that are definitely worth a watch here, guys. And I don't want to leave him hanging. Thank you so much, Unstakeable, for reminding me. Again, I probably missed another 10 people. Sometimes again, I get all these PMs and stuff, and it's hard for me to remember to do all of them. But Unstakeable sent over a few clips here that I think are definitely worth a watch. Our first one here is it's on those strikes that occurred in Lviv. Again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get this. I'm going to try to get it up on screen here. Full screen for you so you can see. Yeah, it's not going to work. It's going to only show you guys half of it. All right, well, we're going to watch the video like this either way. So these are the missile strikes that occurred on Lviv the other day. Let's go ahead and take a watch. You can see at one point an aircraft fly by, and also you can see incoming missile strikes as well. So let's go ahead and take a watch on these missile strikes in Lviv. Thank you very much to Unstinkable who sent this over.
Хуй его знает.
You can see those aircraft there. Or I think actually maybe that was a cruise missile we saw, but I also saw some aircraft, I believe, in there. Some jets. If not, maybe those were all cruise missiles, I'm not sure. Oh, I am seeing a bird too. Yeah, there's definitely a few birds. I didn't notice that at first. I thought that was I'm pretty sure I saw an aircraft early in the video, unless that was another bird. I'm not sure. Oh, there's a missile there. See that missile coming in? That's a cruise missile right there, striking its target. So you guys can see that, and I'll rewind here so you can clearly see that. These cruise missiles are like 26 feet long, and so they're like a small aircraft. You can see them coming inbound. You can see it clearly flying through the sky. Watch. Right there, you can see it right there. See it right above my mouse cursor? And then boom, right there. I'll rewind that once again for you guys so you can see that. Absolutely mind-boggling that you can see them, that they're that large. So you can see that right there flying in. Yeah, very stark footage there coming out of Lviv from those missile strikes. Yeah, there's those cruise missiles are so large you can literally see them coming in like aircraft.
Я ебу, бля.
Absolutely massive amount of destruction there caused from those cruise missiles.
О!
There's another one coming in there. Hold on, I'm going to rewind that so you guys can see it coming in. Watch, watch. Here it is right there. As Unstinkable says, cruise missiles are basically just a kamikaze aircraft with a bomb, so yeah, very large weapon systems there.
Блять, а де наше ППО, нахуй? Я не знаю, що там таке.
As Zal says, they should install anti-aircraft and anti-missiles in Lviv because it's a strategic location for bringing in supplies and troops. I 100% agree, and I'm surprised that they don't already. I would have thought that the Ukrainian forces would have already installed some kind of defense system in these populated areas to defend against exactly what was happening here. I wonder what buildings were struck.
Хуй его знает.
There you can see that one there. That's one of those missiles right there. Look, in fact, so this is the first one that flies over. Watch it. You can see it clear as day when he looks up.
Хуй его знает.
See, watch. There it is right there. That's that cruise missile flying over, and watch, you can see it land right over there. I'll show you that last one too as it flew in. That was a pretty interesting strike. You can see that right there, flying in. I wonder what targets they were striking.
Блять, а де наше ППО?
Hitomon GG says maybe they are too fast for Ukraine tech to hit. No, those are pretty slow-moving cruise missiles. You can see it right there, moving across like an aircraft. I mean, that's just like your standard cruise missile. I guarantee that they have systems that could take those down. It's possible they just don't have enough of them. To supply Lviv with enough defenses to stop things like this. But yeah, I'm not sure. As Julia says, those guys filming have got guts. Yeah, 110%. You see him at one point kind of, go back inside when you heard it flying over. Another clip Unstinkable sent in that I think is worth watching. This is pretty interesting. However, unconfirmed, it shows what is allegedly a Ukrainian soldier sitting in a tree watching Russian troops move through the forests below. Let's go ahead and take a look at this clip. You can see the Russian forces walking right there on a trail, and what shows to be a Ukrainian soldier sitting in a tree. As Unstinkable says, they've been shot down with Stingers already. Yeah, so a Stinger missile can shoot one of these down, apparently. RZ49 says they aren't because they're almost invisible on radar. Yeah, I believe cruise missiles are almost invisible on radar just because they have such a small radar cross section. I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not a military hardware expert by any stretch of the imagination. Zal asks, Nemico, do you think Israel's Iron Dome could handle the same missile attack? I believe so. Yes, I believe Iron Dome is, if I'm not mistaken, capable of intercepting cruise missiles. Mad Mike says they also use cheap drone decoys to overwhelm the AI. I've also heard of this as well on both sides. Both Ukrainian and Russians have used those type of diversion tactics with drones or dummy missiles. Unstickable says these can be shot down with man pads even if you can get behind one. Interesting. Rocket Man says 400 miles an hour. So yeah, not too crazy fast. That's subsonic, as Rocket Man puts. So not very fast at all when it comes to missile hardware, at least. Yeah, hypersonic missiles are the ones that are hard to shoot down. You have so just to be clear, you have subsonic, you have supersonic, and you have hypersonic. Okay. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, subsonic is anything below 2,000 feet per second or 800 feet per second, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's 1,800 or 2,000. I can look that up real quick. 700. Oh no. Okay, so I was wrong. 768 miles an hour. So at which actually, hold on. Let's get that transferred to feet per second. So supersonic speed is the speed of an object that exceeds the speed of sound, Mach 1. Again, that's 768 miles an hour, or in feet per second. Okay, so I was close. Supersonic is 1,126 feet per second. I had guessed 1,800 to 2,000. I guess that's screaming. 1,800 is again, that's supersonic speed. But you go from subsonic to supersonic at 1,126 miles an hour. Or sorry, 1,126 feet per second, aka 768 miles an hour, aka the speed of sound, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 343 meters a second. Yeah, around 768 miles per hour. So very interesting there. Some very interesting data. Master Q asks, Chernobyl still in control of Ukraine? Indeed it is at this time, Master Q. Thank you so much. That's an excellent question. Yep, they are. They even sent in, they've regained communication with the International Atomic Energy Association. They're sending in investigators into the area to take a look at the radiation situation. I hope to have some information on that for you guys later this week. I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, as it's in Russian or Ukrainian on the live chat there. I'm just going to call you Seprin. He says, Russian troops often complain that they don't have enough drones. Yes, we've heard the same thing. That there is a lack in the drone supply, where the Ukrainian forces have basically on a squad level reconnaissance drones, surveillance drones that they can use. Basically, all of them have drones. 777 Militia says, I'd never want to hide in a tree wearing UCP camo pattern. Yeah, probably not. Yeah, in fact, it looks like he'd probably stick out like a sore thumb. However, it is believed that he was not spotted. Again, this is alleged footage. I would like to get some more information on that footage. I'd probably go with Tiger Stripe. Again, not a camo expert. Bo says, interesting camo. Yeah, I believe that's a digital camo. There's a few reasons why you wear digital camo. Maybe I'll make a video about that at some point. Speedy Squirrel says, hi, Nemico Network. Do you think Russia will use other countries' assistance of weapons, hardware as involvement or interference? Yes, I do. I do believe that. And I do believe that possibly we might see some strikes outside of Ukrainian territory on some of those weapon shipments moving into the country, like right across the borders. Possible. Will that be a significant escalation? 100%. 100%. But that, again, it remains to be seen if Russia does go through with that. Chris Andrino says, I've seen wild videos coming from the war. Yes, there's been a lot of crazy footage from this war. A lot of it, again, we're unable to show you guys because it goes against Discord terms of service, goes against YouTube terms of service, Twitch terms of service. However, there's a lot of it out there. There's a lot of crazy footage that has been captured. There's a lot of very heartbreaking footage that's been captured as well. Owly says supersonic is over 1,100 FPS at sea level. Yeah, so over the speed of sound. And then hypersonic is, let's look that up. Hypersonic speed is so hypersonic is Mach 5 to 10. So in kilometers per hour, that's around 6,174 to 12,350 kilometers per hour. High hypersonic, so you have subsonic, you have supersonic, hypersonic, high hypersonic, and then you also have re-entry speeds, which are in excess of 30,000 miles an hour. So yeah, crazy fast. You're talking over Mach 25. High hypersonic is 10 to 25 Mach. Yeah, pretty dang quick. It's outside the realm of understanding quick. Like I don't think most humans are capable of understanding how fast that really is. Triple Seven asks, do you think that Russia anticipated the reaction or pushback that the other countries of the world are having towards their invasion. I believe in some regard they did, but not to the grand extent of support, especially when it comes to lethal aid that they've gotten. I don't think they saw that coming. They definitely saw the javelins and some of the other stuff going over the border early on, and knew that they were going to have to deal with that. That's why we saw the cope cages on Russian tanks. King Charles says, "What's up? I'm a little late, but I made it. Did you talk about the new Russian Satan II test? Thanks for the news." Yes, Charles, we did speak about the Satan II test. Of course, Russia tested that missile earlier. It's borderline. It's borderline somewhere between. It's scheduled testing, so it's not very concerning. However, on the other hand, it is wartime, and you never know, with Russia, if they're going to use testing as a means to deploy a weapon system. So again, it's somewhere in the middle there of concerning and not concerning. Rule Pulso says, "What exactly is the new missile Russia is testing?" It's called a Sarmat missile. That's what the Russians call it. NATO has designated the Satan II missile. It's basically a long-range ballistic missile system capable of carrying both nuclear and conventional ordnance. So not just nuclear weapons, but large conventional bombs as well. Mimi says in Kharkiv they plan to upgrade their defense system in the future over the city. Yes, I believe not just during the war, but after the war, they will continue to update these systems and implement defense systems, especially after what has occurred here. Tommy Hawkins says, "Is Homie in the metaverse? Possibly, possibly." Carolina Cajun says, "In Kharkiv, yes, in Kharkiv. Siren's going, yeah." Yeah, we've heard a few reports just over the past few minutes of some other sirens coming in. I'll refresh my live UA map. I actually don't have anything on the live UA map yet. Interesting that it's not auto embedding those images for some reason. I guess that's kind of a good thing though. Mother Saki says, "Wear digital camo to play Minecraft." I guess that would be one use case. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, digital camo helps in throwing off IR. If I'm not mistaken, IR sensors are thrown off by digital camo slightly. I believe that's why they originally implemented it, if I'm not mistaken. I could be mistaken on that. If somebody wants to clarify, that'd be cool. Keenan says, "All right, I just went to watch Lancaster's video and got this. This following content has been identified by the YouTube community as inappropriate or offensive to some audiences." It stopped. Yeah, so Keenan, his videos are extremely graphic, and so YouTube probably is censoring those due to the graphic nature and making you. Did it allow you to watch it though? Yeah, a lot of that, his new footage has been just crazy graphic the past few days, and I feel like we're going to see a lot of that footage come onto mainstream media over the next, especially Russian media, but not just Russian, but Western media as well. We'll see it on. Basically, it's the same kind of footage we're seeing coming out of Bucha and some of the areas around Kiev, bodies laying in the street, etc. But it's coming from the Russian perspective now. Again, we're going to probably see a lot more of that over the next few days. Again, I don't like to promote Patrick Lancaster and his the kind of the pro-Russian angle that he's taken there, but I mean, I do recommend you watch some of that footage because it does shed a lot of light about what's going on in Mariupol. However, most of it's bullcrap, and most of it's staged. There is a lot of staged footage, and you can really break it down and tell some of it. I mean, maybe not directly staged by Patrick, but some of it possibly is staged by the Russian forces on the ground. Again, I don't want to I don't want to make any accusations or direct, make any, again, any assumptions, jump to any assumptions here, but it is kind of suspect. All right, that's the word I would put it, suspect. So that's why I encourage people to watch it, but take it with a grain of salt and just, kind of make sure to process things on your own, before you come to any conclusions, as much as possible. King Charles says, did you talk about the Sarmat? Yes, we talked about the Sarmat and those Russian missiles there. Chris says cruise missiles can be tracked by almost all radar systems, but the key is to have a SAM to intercept. Okay. Thank you for shedding some light on that. Yeah, I believe they do have quite a small radar cross-section, however, being just in such a small size. I would imagine they're probably a little bit more difficult to spot on radar. However, not impossible. Thank you so much for subscribing, John LeBlue. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. Paul says ludicrous speed. Yes, high hypersonic is ludicrous speed. Yes, that's a very good, very good way to put it. Mimi says the first thing to be done after the victory is to install the Iron Dome in Kharkiv region. Kharkiv Life, they will also rebuild and more equipped bomb shelters. Yes, I guarantee. In the same way that Ukraine built bomb shelters after World War II, and after after the events of the Cold War during the Soviet Union, I guarantee there's going to be a reassessment, so to speak, of things like air defense protection, things like bunkers, etc. All that defensive infrastructure in these towns and cities in Ukraine after this war is over, especially if there's ever the possibility that it could occur again. Unstinkable with a little bit of clarification. Thank you so much. This comes from Google Answers. He says the reason digital camouflage served as the base of a universal pattern is that it could it could be moderately effective in all situations, woodland, desert, and urban, without requiring multiple sets of attire. So it could work in woodland, desert, urban, all settings, effectively to break that silhouette. I remember hearing something at one point about it also having some perceived effect against IR, some IR systems. However, yeah, again, that might have just been hosh posh. Owly says, I think the IR is related to the dye used there in early Russian digital camo that glows like a Christmas tree in IR. Interesting. Hitman, thank you so much for subscribing on Twitch. Thank you so much for that. It means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in this evening. I'm glad to have you. Mad Mike says the Donbass is going to look like a meat grinder after this battle. Yeah, unfortunately, I believe you are true. This is definitely going to be a very gruesome and bloody battle here for the Donbass. Wayne says, do you think Lancaster will be killed by the Russians eventually? If you guys have watched any of his videos recently, I'm surprised the guy already has not been injured. He's been very close on the front lines there to that combat. He's with some very questionable characters. Again, I worry about him. The Aviator says that dude is a terrible actor. He sometimes his acting is a little weird, and it's a little suspect, as I would put it. Like some of the intros to his videos. I don't know if you guys have seen the zoo video he did, but that was 100% propaganda. The entire zoo video. Very interesting content coming out. I mean, I respect the guy for being a reporter on the front lines there in Ukraine, in Mariupol. However, again, coming from the pro-Russian side of things, it's really hard to believe some of the things he says sometimes, because it's we don't have concrete information to back up the claims that are made in those videos. Some of it has been obviously pro-Russian in the past. He tries to come off as a Westerner. However, very obvious that he's not fully Western at all in any regard. However, again, I don't want to jump to any conclusions about anybody, and I do respect the fact that he's there on the front lines. Any war journalist, from any side covering a war. Yeah, it takes a lot of balls and guts to go and do something like that. That's 100% sure. However, again, it's hard to trust any of the information that's coming out of sources like that right now. I would say not just on the Russian side of things, but on all sides of things, it's hard to trust any information coming out of those independent reports on the ground, because oftentimes those people don't really know what's going on. They're just they're seeing shells flying, they're seeing stuff happening, and they report it as they see it. But that often isn't really enlightening as to what the full situation is. Yeah, as Keenan Neighbors said, soldiers telling him about a sniper close by, but yet they are out in the open. Yeah, like in the Mariupol video, this is what I'm speaking of. Like, they'll say stuff like there are snipers close by, but they're standing right in the middle of the street. They start to fire their weapons, and then he says that the battle has started. From his side. You know what I'm saying? It's very suspect activity. Digis says, "Why is he so pro-Russian?" That's a good question. It's a very good question. I don't know. I don't know enough about Patrick Lancaster to make a full assessment of the guy. I really don't. YCH says, "How do we see this whole thing ending, as best as possible or really bad?" We hope for the best, and we prepare for the worst. That's honestly how the mentality we have to keep. We have to hope for the best. We have to prepare for the worst, because every step of the way, Putin has surprised the world when it comes to just how far he's willing to take this thing. So, again, we have to keep a close eye on this. As Master Q says, yes, it's an information war. And again, there's an information war happening on both sides of the spectrum. It has been pretty clear, though, who the aggressor is in all this when it comes to the military side of things. Russia has initiated here, of course, right? But at the same time, that we have to acknowledge there is false information on both sides. Propaganda is a weapon, in the same way that artillery is a weapon. Very similar. Instead of one being kinetic, one is informational. Cam955 says it was how he was raised growing up. Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough again about Mr. Lancaster. I'd love to have him on for an interview. I'd love to talk to the guy to get his whole side of things. Jenny says, "Have any civilians gotten out of Mariupol today?" We did have reports that a few made it out. However, that there was a ceasefire plan that had to be canceled because of Russian forces that possibly had opened fire. There was like basically an inability for the commanders there on the ground to issue the ceasefire order across all of the Russian battalions, all the Russian groups there, the Russian squads that were on the ground in and around Mariupol. And so apparently there was kind of a break in that ceasefire Wednesday, but they're going to retry it Thursday. They said, so that's today. Ollie Manstein says his channel is suspect. His whole channel has been about Ukraine/Russia conflict starting in 2014. I believe he also did some stuff about Armenia and Azerbaijan, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, definitely has been pretty suspect. Mad Mike Patrick was in the U.S. Navy. I think he probably met a little Ukrainian hottie in port or something. Yeah, that's actually the going theory. That is the going theory, believe it or not. Very interesting story surrounding that guy. And again, I'd love to have him on the show for an interview sometime. That'd be pretty cool. As LD49 says, I saw something about them having to wear white armbands to do so. Not sure if it pertained to there. Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the forces in Mariupol wearing white armbands, including Patrick Lancaster. In those videos, they were wearing white armbands. Miss Fishy Eye Eater with a report post here saying G7 finance ministers promised over $24 billion in support for Ukraine. In a statement, the minister said they are also prepared to do more for Ukraine as needed. Again, reported by Reuters. Thank you so much, Miss Fishy Eye Eater, for sending that over. Tango Down asks, Nemico Network, did you see the G20 meeting where everyone walked on Russia started speaking? Yes, I did report. I reported on that in my report earlier this evening. I actually didn't watch the video, but again, I read about it. So, I mean, I know of it. RZ49 says, Nemico Network, have you talked about Mehmet before today? Last I heard of him, he went to France to save another cat. Yes, I did. I've been speaking a little bit about him every night with each report. Information has been, sparse with him in the past few days as he's been trying to keep OPSEC as he, operates those kitty evacuations in and out of Ukraine. However, again, I'm hoping to have him on the show for an interview in the coming days when he is settled back in his home in Ukraine there. So again, I hope to have more information on him then. I did speak with him today. He's doing good. He's tired. He's been really busy, but again, I hope to have more information on him in the coming days. HM Producer, thank you so much for tuning in and sending over that data. Says there was some video of the explosion there at the plant, several explosions, 342 and on, hoping someone found it for you. Yes, I haven't got the clip of that explosion yet, but I'll probably have it later, and I can take a look at that and possibly show it to you guys. So I think that basically wraps up tonight's report and Q&A there. I hope to have more information for you guys tomorrow evening. With that, this has been tonight's report for April 20th of 2022 on the ongoing war and events in Ukraine. To all of those that are looking to join in on the community discussions or maybe wanting a little bit more information at a faster rate, you can actually get reports on what's going on in Ukraine. You can join in the conversation and all that stuff a lot faster by joining our community Discord server. You can find a link to that in the description below this video or stream, depending on how you're watching it. If you missed the live stream of this report, we upload all of the reports to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/Nemico Network a few hours after they go live, so stay tuned for that if you missed the report and you want to see the entire thing. Again, that's youtube.com/Nemico Network where you can find that. You can find all the links, most of the links to our sources and stuff in the description below this live stream or below the video. You can find the link to join our Discord server over there. You can find links to where you can support the channel, where you can support Ukraine, and etc. Again, new reports every night from 9 p.m. That's 9 p.m. To 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, about 10:30 to 11 p.m. We usually go for about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes I hop in during the daytime and hang out with you guys for extended periods of time for a few hours, kind of sporadic reports. To know when I'm going live for those, pay attention to the announcements channel over on the Discord server. Again, thank you to everybody that tuned in this evening. It's really glad to have all of you guys tuning back in. I hope, again, to bring you guys more improvements to the reports over the next coming weeks. I'm also going to be working on ways to make the 24/7 cam stream a little bit more engaging. engaging, possibly adding some features from my reports into those streams sporadically, like on a timed basis. Maybe to bring reports to you guys, like pieces of maybe the nightly report to you guys during those cam streams. Again, those 24/7 cam streams I have up again all day. Sometimes they go down for a few hours. You can find when I'm going live for those on the Discord announcements channel, over on the community section on the YouTube channel is also a good place to get news. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. It's the best way to get the algorithm's attention. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It's the best way to get notifications when the streams go live, when new videos go live. Follow if you haven't on Twitch. That's the best way to get notifications on Twitch. Speaking of videos, though, we have a whole bunch of video content coming your guys' way in the coming weeks, and I can't wait to show it to a lot of you guys. Again, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on that. And with that, again, guys, it is tonight's report for April 20th of 2022 for the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Again, guys, SLAVA UKRAINI, and until next time, stand by.
Something that will change our daily lives, that will change history, 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 that will change history. That will be the most beautiful day.